Today I'm going to show you a complete sample on how to do a reverse engineer over the employee table, which we already have in a different schema on the same server. We are going to bring the functionality of saving records into an existing table, which I said it exists on different schema. So we want to have this table created in the database in which Formus CMP currently saves records. So we are going to start by doing a reverse engineer. And what we have in front is the list of tables that are currently in my database, my SQL server, and inside all the schemas. What I want to do is I want to have this table created in the schema that belongs to Formus CMP by importing first by doing a reverse engineer over this table, bring this table to Formus CMP resources, and afterwards create the table and be able to save a record into it by using the CRUD functionality out of the box for this requirement. So the first step is import the asset resource. As we can see, we have it ready, and I have my fields created, but I do not have any buttons created. So I'm gonna go ahead and create the save button to apply the save functionality for the CRUD methods out of the box that comes with Formus CMP. So this is the just imported resource that will be saving records into a table that will be created by executing create table. So we will start by creating first the button to save records. In the list of command names, we have the CRUD functionality names available to be used to any button you want to create. So I'm gonna create the save employee button, and it'll be executed with a button with JavaScript. I will be using a green color button. We use the CSS for Bootstrap, and I'm gonna be applying the functionality of the save inside the CRUD methods over the employee table or form that currently it's in the in-memory module. As we saw, I just have done a reverse engineer over that table inside the same server, different schema, which I will be creating on Formus CMP schema by creating the form and then applying the create table button. So my form, the name is employee. The order of display of the button that I'm creating, it's once. This is the first button. When do I want my button to appear? I want it to appear when I click On the employee option, the new event will be executed, and that's when I want my button to save a record to appear. That's why I have set up the new event here. Now, which is the view that I want to show when I click the button? None. This does not apply when I'm using a button that executes JavaScript. So that's why we're not setting any values there. The observation is saving employee button. Okay, we are all set. We click on the save action and we are going to see what we have done. We see now the save employee. As we can see, none of the fields are required. How do I know which ones are required? The ones that have the asterisk, such as this one, next to the label of the field that indicates it is a required field. So as we saw, none of the fields are required. If I try to save a record with these 4 fields now into the database, I'm gonna get an error stating the table does not exist. We're gonna see it. Here we are. Table employee does not exist. So I'm gonna click accept and I'm gonna go ahead and create the table inside Formus CMP database schema. There you are. The table has been created. Now, if I click once more in the Save Employee button that I created, I'm gonna have different type of errors. Why is that? Because if I want to insert a record into this table, we see that the type of fields that I have for the case of employee ID, age, and salary are numbers. So to be able to save a number, I have to introduce a number value into each one of these fields. The only one that accepts text is this one right here. So we are going to see what types of problems we have when we do not set up correctly validations, such as requesting a required value. So here we go. As I mentioned, none of the fields are required. We don't have the asterisk. So I'm gonna click save and we are going to have errors. Those errors we are going to prevent by setting the correct configurations over these fields to not have the following errors. So I'm gonna go ahead and click. The next error we are going to see, the emp ID, it's not being able to be saved because there is no number provided over it. So here we go. As you can see, it is saying that the field emp ID, which is this one, requires an integer value. Okay, right now, no value is being provided. That's why we are having these errors. These errors are normal whenever you do not set up correctly the configurations over your fields. So I'm gonna go ahead and correct by setting up the correct values, which will prevent us from having the error we just saw. So I'm going in edit mode. I'm going to correctly set up this field. We go into the details And the first thing that I will do is I'm going to set that required field. Then I'm going to show you what happens by just setting it up as required. Okay, now we see the asterisk. So I'm going to go ahead and click save once more. And right now it's telling me the value is required. So I'm going to put a value and click again save. But this time, since the value is only required and I'm filling up the value, what will happen is it will try to save the record into the table inside the Formula CMP database schema with an incorrect value. So we will have the same error we saw. Here we go. Okay, once more, it's stating that I'm trying to save an incorrect value into an integer type field. How do I prevent that? Here we go. We have regex validations to only accept numbers. So I'm gonna correctly set up that validation into the MPID field. We have the regex validation field. We set up that value. We save those changes. And once more, I'm going to try that out. So right now, I'm not putting any values. I'm going to hit the Save Employee button. It's stating that it's required. I'm going to put some text which is not valid just to trigger the regex validation. Okay, now it's stating that the value that I have just entered is not a number. This is preventing the first two errors that we saw from happening. These same configurations will be applied to the age and to the salary field. If I don't apply them and enter a correct value here on the MPID field, which covers the requirement of being a required field, and also I'm covering the regex validation by entering a number, then this validation will be successful and it will try to save the record. The same errors we were having, the same two, will be shown in the cases of the age in the salary field. I'm going to show him to you. Again, the error age field requires an integer value which is not being provided. That's why we are having that error. So what should I do? I will apply the same configurations to apply validations as required field and also to validate the enter value. So how do we do that? We go in design mode. We edit the age field. We set that as required. We set up the regex. We have done so. And now I'm going to go and apply the same thing over salary. Okay, require, only accept numbers, update. That's done. And these three fields, MPID, age, salary, which are integer, big integer, now require numbers and are required values. So I'm gonna show you in execution mode how it's behaving after setting those configurations correctly. When I don't enter a value, it is requesting me to input a correct value. So I'm gonna go ahead, enter 100, the age is 34, the salary is 13,000, and the name is Jose. I'm gonna go ahead and hit save, but first I want to show you how the table was created. Here it is. It has no records. I'm gonna hit save. The record was successfully validated and saved into the database. So I'm gonna refresh, and here we have the values saved. That's how easy you can do a reverse engineer through Formula CMP to achieve having your forms to input data into those tables and also get your API so that you can integrate this functionality into your own platform by REST API. That's all for today. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.